Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. I'm your host, Juan Ayala, and this is Actors with Issues. Hello, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends. Welcome back to another episode of Actors with Issues, bringing you another quick and casual chat with folks from TV, film, and Broadway. I am your host, Juan Ayala, and believe me, we have missed you. We have been off for the last couple of months as we've just moved and are getting into a new space and getting things settled. But for our loyal listeners, we have plenty of episodes coming up with some amazing guests, like my Blind Spot co-star Ennis Esmer, Justin Johnson Cortez from Walker on the CW, and Ryan Leno and Yvonne Chapman from Family Law, and the global smash hit Avatar: The Last Airbender. But joining us for today's episode is an incredibly talented, booked, and busy voice actor who has worked on everything from video games to animation, Marvel and Star Wars to DC and anime. You know them most as Morph in the critically acclaimed X-Men in '97, now streaming its entire first season on Disney+. Please welcome JP Karliak. JP, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
Take us down memory lane for a bit. What's your sort of origin story, getting into entertainment, into voice acting? How did we get here today?
Oh, move. Well, I mean, I started doing theater when I was a little kid, local theater, children's theater, and then, of course, high school theater and all of that. And then I went to school for drama at Catholic University of America in DC for 2 years. Then I transferred to USC in LA for the next 2 years. And the whole goal was kind of to be an on-camera actor because even though, as much as I loved voiceover, I loved cartoons, I was so into that world. I was under the impression that nobody actually gets paid to do voiceover. It's too fun. It just must be something that they let you do. So you have to become famous in on-camera first, and then they'll let you do voiceover. I'm sheltered. Anyway, I started pursuing on camera, did a couple bit roles, but at the same time I was pursuing voiceover, and I just found that voiceover just allowed me to do so many different characters, whereas I felt that on camera was getting more and more narrow in terms of what they were seeing me as. So yeah, I kind of left that behind and just started doing voiceover full time, and here we are.
Yeah. And with X-Men '97, I mean, firstly, huge congrats because of the crazy success of the show. Huge hit, already renewed for 2 more seasons. What was that sort of audition process like? I know with Marvel, I have been fortunate enough to audition for Marvel a couple of times. It's always dummy sides, and you have no idea what you're actually auditioning for. Was it the same sort of thing with animation?
Yeah, it was like Steve or Bill or something like that. But I did have an inkling of what it was. And I knew the casting director and was like, "Is this what I think it is?" And she's like, "Hmm." And I did know from the get-go that this was a non-binary character. And the more I read into it, the more it felt important. It felt like something that was going to matter a lot, not just within the Marvel universe, but just to this fan base as a whole. So yeah, I mean, but I did it from the comfort of my own booth right here, and recorded my audition, my callback, and then that was it.
You already spoke about how the character is non-binary. The first that we've seen really in any Marvel on-screen property. At this point in the comics, there are plenty to speak of. But with the X-Men, they've always sort of been an allegory for queer people, for the exiles, for people who society does not deem of being normal. So just what has it felt like, the impact of the show, of X-Men in general, and of the character?
I mean, it's been pretty spectacular. When you're recording, especially in a room like this, um, you don't really know. You don't really have a sense of what this is going to be, or how big, or how successful. You don't even know if it's going to be good. Um, you can only go off of what bits of the script you're reading, and that's kind of it. And to be able to go to the premiere and to see just I mean, I think we had an inkling, like especially because of its pedigree of what the '90s series was, that it would be decent, but like it was earth-shattering how good it actually was. Um and to see the way that it it resonates with people. Having gone to a few conventions and talking to people afterwards, or just people on social media, just saying how much it resonates with them or their kids being queer themselves, it means a lot,
Yeah.
and we're not even doing that much. It's like we just identified that Morph is non-binary, but it's not like we're doing very special story hours or anything like
Right.
that to really hammer it home. It's just like we're just saying that this is Morph and this is who he is, and that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been super impactful.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, that's probably why it's so impactful, is because it's like, oh, this character just gets to be there and exist without judgment, without drawing attention to it. That's all we want, right? Yeah, that's all queer people hope for, is to just be able to exist and not just, we just want to be here. We just want to be and peacefully and be allowed to be around and not criticized and all of that. So, um,
Yeah, he's got a lot more to do than just to stand in a room and be non-binary. Like,
right.
there's plenty of other things going on.
Yeah. And actors are so often encouraged to be multifaceted artists to expand their skill set. So, what advice do you have for an actor who is looking to get more into voiceover? Is there anything that comes to mind as something you know now about it that you wish you learned earlier on?
I mean, I think I was fortunate that by the time I started to get into voiceover, I really I had already started doing a lot of the things that matter in voiceover. I had studied um, one of my favorite classes that I took in college was just like a general education requirement that wasn't even part of the theater training. It was phonology, or like it was part of linguistics,
Mm,
which was basically the study of how your mouth makes sound.
mm,
And and being able to call upon that and think to myself like, okay, wait a minute, this is my soft palate doing this, and if I open this up and you start to dissect like what those sounds are, so you can open up your throat or like do all sorts of things. So that was huge. Improv was huge. Everybody was taking improv like 15 years ago, so
yeah,
it was kind of the thing to do. But it is so important, and I think the popularity of taking improv has fallen away a little bit. But it is so key to being able to really access, because improv is kind of like black box theater, where you have to come up with all of your surroundings, the objects, your
yeah.
costumes, everything. You're inventing it all on the fly, and that's entirely what we do in voiceover.
Mm,
So those are the biggies. I think having some acting training and scene work. Like, I think there's a lot of people who do a funny voice and think that, okay, I'm ready to do a voiceover, and it's like, well, you forgot the acting part. Like,
right.
you're a voice actor. The actor part does matter.
Yeah, that's pretty much something. The last part, especially, is something that lots of voice actors have brought up. Is like, don't forget that acting part. You can't just have a cool. It's beyond just having a cool voice, and especially interviewing so many voice actors, I've just realized like, oh, they have like normal voices. It's not like they're walking around sounding like the movie trailer guy from the '90s. You need that range. Otherwise, you are sort of like a one hit wonder. If you have too distinct of a voice, it's a bit more of your detriment than a benefit.
Yeah, I mean it's limiting, and I mean for people that do have a really distinct voice, they're the only ones that will ever book that particular type,
Right,
but it's maybe the only type they book.
right.
So yeah.
And we have a little part of our show called Resume Breakdown. So we kind of just go around your IMDb and sort of touch on some of your some of the roles that
Oh
you've have
no.
had over the years. So let's go with Spidey and His Amazing Friends. You have done 52 episodes of that show, many many different characters, particularly the Green Goblin. So what sort of is a little takeaway from working on the series?
I mean, I think the most fun of working on Gabi is the delight of when I run into parents who are like, by the way, I've seen every one of your episodes thanks to my daughter, or something like, or for them to like be like, this is Green Goblin, this is him, see. And depending upon what age they are, they're either like, wow, or they're like, what, you know.
No, he's
So that's,
not.
yeah, it's like, that's not him. He's not even green. Like, they have to be above a certain age to be like, ah, voice. Yes, I
Yeah.
understand. But yeah, that's just been super fun. As a matter
Mm,
of fact, we've been working on there's this live tour thing, Disney Junior Live, where
Uh,
Gavi appears and he sings a song and everything like that. I mean, I don't go on tour; it's just a soundtrack with my voice. But to
right.
get to sing a song that was written by like the guy from Fallout Boy, like it was fun. It's
Yeah.
just it's a goofy, fun character, and yeah, I just love
Mm.
being able to do that mischief.
And so you have not only, as we've discussed, not only had roles in the Marvel universe, you've also done DC, Star Wars, and all these amazing iconic franchises. In DC, in Suicide Squad, in the video game, the Joker. So were you like terrified of taking on a role as iconic as a Joker, or were you just like, let's freaking go, let's make this our own?
Can the answer be yes? um, the Joker he's a landmine of iconic performance, a field of landmines that are iconic performances. And I think the benefit that I had is that this was an Elseworlds Joker. I'm not doing any particular Joker that's been done before. So I got to do my own thing while pulling in, especially when it came to the laugh, like pulling in bits from other iconic Jokers. So it still felt like him. Um, but yeah, so it's always scary because, there's people that are going to love it, there are people who are going to hate it. And what can you do? I had a good time. And to me, that's kind of all you can hope for.
And in Star Wars, as mentioned, you were had roles in the Bad Batch and in Visions.
hmm
So getting to sort of tackle multiple roles there as well as you did in some of the other projects. Any particular takeaways from sort of channeling that franchise?
Well, especially the Bad Batch. To me, I love animated Star Wars. I
Mm.
think it's some of the best Star Wars. Controversial, well, not really.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody disagrees. But it's so rich. I mean, I was so emotional with the finale of the Bad Batch just a couple months ago. And yeah, I think it was just really special to be a part of that because I've been a fan of it for so many years, from the Clone Wars on. Um, yeah, it's a fun little badge,
Mhm.
to know people that are being like, oh, we were in that little club that got to be in that really
Yeah.
special place.
And before we let you go, let's wrap up with the Boss Baby taking over this role from Alec Baldwin, who did the film, and then you doing the series.
Mhm.
So what was that like?
Boss Baby, I mean, is one of my favorite. I came in as Scratch originally. They were unsure at the beginning whether Alec was going to play the role, not play the role, so they just wanted to bring in an actor to just cover the episodes while they were getting production going, and then we'll see. And luckily, at some point, Alec was like, "I can't, I'm too busy." Yeah, so I took it over, but um, he's so verbose. There's so many words that come out of his mouth. If you've ever watched the Gilmore Girls, it's like it moves at that tempo, and there's just so
Hmm.
many words. Luckily, we don't have to memorize things, but um, I just loved the maturity of the writing and the
Hmm.
intelligence of the writing, despite being a show that's ostensibly about and for babies. Um, it was always so weird. I was always surprised by every script. Just when I thought that I kind of understood where we were headed, it was like, nope, left turn. Yeah, and it was an absolute blast. And it was one of the shows that I got to record often in person with a bunch of my fellow castmates, which was also lovely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, with that is our time, unfortunately. But our last question is always a quick one in 10 words or less. What advice would you give to a young actor?
um, yeah, that'll work. You are a collaborator, not a servant.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah, my career made a severe shift when I stopped being like, "Oh, Mr. Producer person, please hire me," and just started being like, "I'm not better than you, but I'm also not worse than you. We
Right.
are all in this room to solve a problem and to make something together. So let's work together and make this together, not, get all like, flop sweaty over like, oh, do they like me? Like, no, we're all just trying to solve a problem."
Yeah. Awesome. Well, JP, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really appreciate it. And again, huge congrats on X-Men. I cannot wait to see seasons 2 and 3. Just I've been obsessing over it like everyone else has, really. So yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Alrighty, take care. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to Actors with Issues on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and visit our YouTube channel for full video interviews. Actors with Issues is executive produced and hosted by Juan Ayala. See you next time.